Hello, welcome to the Teach with Tech online conference. I'm Erin Flanagan, and also welcome to my session on Digital Scoot. I'm going to be talking a little bit today about how to create Digital Scoot, why to create Digital Scoot, and how to play Digital Scoot in your classroom. There we go. So today's session, I'm going to be mostly focusing on Digital Scoot on Google Slides. However, if you use PowerPoint or Keynote, you can adapt most of what I'm saying to both of those programs as well. You probably read in my bio on the Teach with Tech site that I was a classroom teacher for 12 years. I'm currently out of the classroom. I'm blogging and consulting full time. I just had a baby, so that is a big reason why that I'm home this next year. And I also have 5-year-old twins, so I'm busy. You can find me all over social media under Erintegration. I blog at erintegration.com, and that's what my social media handle is on Instagram and Pinterest and Facebook. So let's zoom in a little bit and chat more about Digital Scoot. What is it? It is a technology integration and movement game. The premise: students will be moving from device to answer a set of questions. So you'll have a class of the devices that are spread out around the room, and students will be scooting every 1 to 3 minutes whenever you say the word scoot, and they'll be answering a question, and then they move to the next device and answer a question. So keeping in mind that the questions you're asking are open-ended, kind of general or survey type questions. It's a great way to get your finger on the pulse in the room, or to get feedback, or to hear students' thoughts and ideas. One of the things to remember with Digital Scoot is because they're moving from device to device, they're going to be seeing all the answers of the students that came before them. So it does work well in a class where you're not asking like for right or wrong answers. It also works well if you have classmates that are introverted. So it does help them kind of warm up if they see what other kids are asking ahead of them or see what kids are answering. Another great thing about Digital Scoot is, for the most part, answers are anonymous. Since they're scooting from device to device, after a few rounds they kind of lose track of who answered what, so they don't have to sign their name or anything. So if they're writing a short answer question or they're answering a survey question, by the time you get through all of your class spots, or they scoot all the way to the end, you will have a set of answers on each response that won't necessarily be associated with a particular student. So it's a great way to collect anonymous type responses to questions too. But the big idea is you're setting up this class set of devices all around the room, and you're having students scoot device to device to answer a question. The big question I always get is, well, why scoot? If you're trying to have students answer questions, or you're collecting data about students or surveying students, why wouldn't you just use Google Forms, Kahoot, or Flipgrid, or any of the other sort of collection type apps and programs? Google Forms is great if you want private or instant, or you want to collect the feedback and graph it. Kahoot is great because it's social, it's instant feedback, it's competitive, it's fun, it has that music that all your students love. And Flipgrid, it has the audio and video component for feedback. So these are all great ways to collect information from students. So why then are you going to use and play Digital Scoot? Well, there's a big reason, and that is movement. Digital Scoot is a way to get students participating and moving in your classroom. And this quote is from 2005, so it's a little old, but if anything, I feel like it's more relevant today. The more that we learn and more research supports that students do need to get up and move, and they do need to have time to exercise. And Digital Scoot is just one way to add that back in your classroom while integrating technology. Since I only have a half hour, I'm going to kind of give you an overview in general about how to actually create a Digital Scoot game. The most important thing about Digital Scoot is picking a topic, because if you're just looking for like a quick right or wrong answer, you're going to want to use a Google form because it gives students that instant feedback, are they correct or not. Digital Scoot, however, works best when you're using a more broad topic or a general topic or a survey kind of question, because students are going to be seeing what the other classmates are putting on the different slides. So typically a general or a broad topic is going to work best. I love to use Digital Scoot if I'm introducing a topic, or if I'm kind of at the end, I'm wrapping up something. I have some that go along with the read alouds that we did in class, and it was a really fun way for us all to celebrate and share our thoughts about the book at the end. It should also be a topic that lends itself to discussion. So you don't want to pick something really, really specific. You want to keep it more general. I've had teachers make them on different science topics. So a good topic might be something like energy versus making a digital scoot about one particular lesson or unit in your science textbook. The other important thing about your topic is you're going to have to think of at least as many questions as there are students in your class. So if you're just trying to do a quick exit slip type activity and you have 5 questions, that's not going to cut it. So you want to start with, okay, I have 20 students. I need to be able to think of 20 discussion, general survey type questions to go with this topic. So topic selection is super duper important. I've created in my store a bunch of different digital scoots that go along with holidays. So for each holiday, one of the fun activities we would do is just a digital scoot. The movement was key because in elementary school, as you know, students have a lot of extra energy on those holidays. So it was a great way for us to kind of get our wiggles out, but while also kind of contributing to a fun discussion about the holiday. There are 4 basic groups of questions that I pull from when I'm creating a digital scoot. After I come up with my topic, I then think of the amount of questions to go along with how many students are in my class. So let's say I have 30 students in my class. I need to create a digital scoot that has 30 of these type of questions. These are the kind of questions that work best in a digital scoot game. Short answer questions, and that's where students are going to respond in words. You want to think about the length of responses. You don't want to have a long paragraph for students to answer because they have to all fit on a few different slides. So you don't want students to sit there and like type for 20 minutes their response. You want it to be quick. I tend to think of something that they can do in 1 to 3 minutes at each computer or at each device. You also want to make sure that your short answers are open-ended. There's no right answer, or else students are going to be moving from device to device and they're going to be writing the exact same thing as the person ahead of them. So you want those more open-ended short answer kind of thought questions. Another type I use is a yes or no question. You only want to give 2 choices, a true or false kind of question, and students have to choose one. So these are fun if you just want them to pick between 2 categories. Did you like the book? Yes or no? Would you recommend the book to a friend? Yes or no? Those kind of questions. A survey question. These are probably make up the bulk of the digital scoots that I create and use in my classroom. Those are ones that have more than one choice or answer. The teacher gives the choices up front. So you can include an other choice as well. So if you're giving like 5 choices, always have like an other for that one student who's like, well, my favorite food to eat isn't on here. So always have like that other category for those creative students. You can have them respond to survey questions with a pie chart, with a graph that they fill in and build together. You can have them respond to in a survey question by having different categories that they're actually like picking from. And the final type of question is the picture question, and those are where they actually are searching the internet and finding a picture that meets the questions or meets the task. It can be a map, a photo, an illustration. You can have something that they snip actually from the web using the little snip or lasso tool if you're using a Chromebook or a laptop. Remember, the big thing is whatever questions you're writing, students can see the responses their classmates are given. So you want to make it so that they're excited to see what the person ahead of them chose. So I want to give you some samples of scoots that I've used in the classroom. This is an example of short answer. So you can see the question here was one thing that you hope to learn next year, and students just answered a quick one word. And they, of course, because it's elementary, they had to choose a font and a background and a color and kind of make it look cool in the emoji smell. And then you can see the next one, I had them add something they learned that year. This was the end of the year that you now know or can do in the letters. And again, I told them like just a quick one word or short answer. And I had them make sure that they dragged it and resized it into the letters. Since this was for 3rd grade, I thought it was a really great way for them to practice those little text skills like resizing and font choice and mouse skills, moving these things around. If you're using an iPad, you can also have students practice those touch and double tapping skills that they definitely need to practice. Here's some examples of the yes, no type questions I mentioned. That's where they're having to choose between two things. Here you can see on the Valentine's Scoot, I had them pick if they make or buy their Valentines. And you can see in the ones that I create, I have them usually respond with an emoji. You can also, and I'll show you in the making section, you can have them respond with shapes. Here I already put the emojis right on the Scoot, and they were just. Here's an example of some survey type questions. So here you can see that I use a mixture of graphs and pie charts, and I'm having the students build the pie chart or graph as they scoot. So as they get to each station, they will be moving the emoji, either making the graph in real time or answering right on the pie chart in real time. And I love it because at the end, you have that filled out slide to go over, and it really generates a lot of discussion. So you could pull up the slide at the end of the year and say, okay, which group, where did the most people celebrate New Year's? Where the least people? So you can use some of that graphing vocabulary. The other thing that I love about it is it does give you a nice little slice of your students' opinions, thoughts, and lives. You know, here, a lot of students here are watching college football. You go somewhere else and they're not watching any football. So I think it is important to sort of learn your students' preferences for things. And then the final type that I mentioned was the picture response. I don't use these too much. Maybe I'll put like 1 or 2 per scoot, just because the students do take a little longer at this particular station where they're having to search and insert and crop. And here I had them label as well. Again, practicing all those little embedded text skills that are important for using Google Slides. It's a fun way to teach some of that stuff without them even realizing that that's what they're doing, that you're teaching them. After you have chosen your topic and you've written out your questions, a mix of the different types that I just showed you, you are now going to create your digital scoot. Now, I create mine commercially, so the way I do it, so if you're looking at mine, I'm not going to like go into all that because I'm using like Adobe Photoshop, I'm using commercially licensed graphics and things, so I'm going to teach you how to do it for your use in your classroom with your students so that you can make these next year if you want for any topic that fits your class. So the way I would go ahead and do that is with the master slide view, and the master slide is an edit mode on Google Slides, and I'll show you just a minute how that works. Because you don't want students to move around all the elements on the slide. Like, you don't want them to change your questions and your numbers and all that stuff as they're scooting. You don't want to delete things. You want to really lock down the main components of your digital scoot. So you're going to create your digital scoot with the master slide view, and that's going to keep it locked down on the slide. And this is not the same though as completely securing the whole slideshow. Like, technically students could go into the master slide and delete everything, but honestly, like, they're not going to do that. Like, most students don't even know how to get into master slide view, and if they do, they're going to be wrecking something that's fun to do. And worst case scenario, you just undo everything, hit the undo button. But for the most part, if you just give them the heads up, not to mess around too much with the slide, they should be fine. And in doing these many, many times with lots of different students, I've never had that happen. So just something to be aware of. They can technically edit it, but they probably won't. So the master slide view. When you open a Google slideshow, a blank Google slideshow, you can open something called the master slide. The master slide is a part of the Google slideshow that can't be edited in the slideshow view. So I'm going to actually jump over to the master slide view in a little sample one that I made for you. But basically, once you get in the master slide view, you're going to edit in the master slide view anything that you don't want students to delete or move around when they're playing the game. So let me show you how that works. I'm going to jump out of full screen, and here's our demo. So here's just a regular Google slide view. I'm going to click view, and I'm going to choose master. And now I'm in the master slide view. The way you know you're in master slide view is if it's dark gray. Now, anything that I do to these slides now will be locked down. So you can, edit the ones they already have, or you can add your own. A lot of times I'm lazy, so I just take one that's already there and I just delete everything and then make my own slide. But you can get real fancy with it if you want. You can rename your master slide. So if this is something you see yourself doing a lot and making a lot of digital scoots, you can make, one that's a 4 pie chart, and that's what you're going to use over and over again. great. I tend to just open it up, delete, and edit right on the blank slide. So anything that I do on this blank slide now in the regular slide view cannot be moved. So you can change the background. You can add text boxes. So here I added a text box to label the number. Here's an example of where I added a text box with the question that I'm going to be asking, and then I added a couple lines, so now students will build the graph. Now this says, what is your favorite technology blog? Copy and paste a star to graph your choice. Now I'm not going to put a star on here because if I put a star in the master slide view, once I share it with students, they're not going to be able to move the star. I have to do that in the regular Google Slides view. So let me show you how that works. So I'm going to click out of master slide view. Now I'm just in regular old Google Slide view. And over here where it says add, I'm going to click the arrow to see all the different types of slides that I can add, and you can see whatever I made in the master slide view is available now to put. Now do you see I can't select or move around anything in that master slide? So super, super useful if you're creating things that you want to share out, especially in elementary. So now here I said to copy and paste a star. Well, anything that I want to be movable, I have to insert in the regular slide view. So here I'm going to insert a shape. I always like to use kind of fun shapes or icons or clip art for the students just to make it a little more engaging. So here I'm going to add my star. And I like everything to match, so I'm going to use, there we go. So now I have my star, so students now are going to be copying and pasting as they move to vote. Now I know some teachers like to have everything like already copied and pasted. So if you're doing this with like really little kids, like maybe kindergarten, first grade, maybe you want to have a pile that they pull from. So you can do that just by copying and pasting a whole bunch for them to use. If you want it to look like a pile, select all of them, right click, and you want to align them horizontally center, and then you want to right click, and you also want to align them vertically middle, and then it looks like one star, but as they click and pull, it'll just keep the ones that you copied below. I don't use that in third because I really want them to be copying and pasting. I want them to learn how to do it. I teach them shortcut keys so they get faster at it. So that's just one thing to think about. Now, if you're using a shape, keep in mind that they can resize the shape as well. So again, the undo button is their friend. Use it. All right, so this is just like one example. And is this the most obnoxious question of all time? But I'm just having fun. I'm just kidding. So let me pull this back up. So that's how you would design your various slides in the master view. Now, that's for a survey if you're using like a graph or you want to have them drag into different spots. However, you can also make your own pie charts on using the master slide view. So here I have an example. I asked them, how do you work best? And I gave them 4 choices, and they dragged an emoji into one of the quadrants on the pie chart. And to add a chart into your Google slide, you can do that right in the master slide view. You go to Insert and Chart. I choose a pie chart usually for these ones. It's way easier to edit the pie chart than it is to edit other kind of charts. So after you insert your pie chart, it's going to look like this, just a very bland default chart that they put in. Now, if you click on it, you'll get a little open button, and it'll either say open in Sheets or open source. You want to go ahead and open that, and that's how you're going to edit what the chart looks like. It'll open a spreadsheet and you'll see all the default things that they put in. I always delete column A because I don't need any labels on this. I want my pie chart to turn out blank like the one in the corner there. Now this part's going to involve a little bit of math. You are going to figure out how many spots you want in your pie chart, and you're going to divide that by 100. So I want 4 spots in my pie chart. I'm going to do 100 divided by 4. I get 25. I write the number 25 4 times in column B. If I want 5 slots or 5 pieces of pie in my pie chart, I'm going to do 100 divided by 5. I get 20. I'm going to write the number 20 5 times in column B. So it's basically just telling how many different slices you want in your pie chart and that you want them equally spaced. So after you set up your column B, touch the 3 dots in the chart and go to Edit Chart. And in the editing box that opens, I'm going to move my head out of the way here. In the editing box that opens, you can change how everything's displayed. You can change the background of your charts, and I'm going to show you how to do all that right now. So let me go back to full screen and our Scoot demo, and I'm going to move my head again all the way over here. I'm going to view master. All right, I'm going to choose a blank layout, and I'm going to insert a chart. I want to insert a pie chart. Hit the arrow, open source, and you'll see it's opening the spreadsheet automatically for me. All right, I'm going to delete column A, and here you're going to see I'm going to change all of these to 25. And I'm going to edit my chart. All right, I turn off row 1 as headers. I don't want any information on there. I go to customize. I choose pie chart. I want my border to be black. That way you can see the edges of your different sections. And then I change my chart title and axis. I don't want any chart titles, so I just delete it. And series is how you change the color of each of your areas. I'm going to make all mine white, but you can make them whatever color you want. So that's slice 1, slice 2, I'm going to make white. So you just do those one at a time. And then legend, you can just remove because you don't want any of their default things displaying. So now I have this really plain basic chart. And if I go back to my master slide, I'm going to click update, and now I have this chart here. And I can add my question. And now you can see you can't move it, you can't delete it. Here's some examples of pie chart questions that I've made. Here you can see which search engine do you use the most. I created a 5-section pie chart, and then I labeled it with text, and then I had students drag their emoji to vote for whatever one they use the most. And then here's the larger version of the one I was showing you before with the 4 sections for them to vote in. And again, you can create those just by messing around and editing the chart that comes up, the default chart. So when you're making your Google Scoots or your digital Scoots, you want to make sure that your slides all have these 3 things. It must have a number, and that'll help you when you're going to play digital Scoot, and I'll talk about that in a second. You must have a task, so some kind of question or survey or graph that they're building. So there should be some kind of task and text that explains the task. Then you also need a way that they're answering the question. You want to include that right on the slide. So do you want them to type? Do you want them to search for an image? Do you want them to copy and paste a piece of clip art or emoji? Like, you need to tell them exactly what they're supposed to do. So when they sit down at that device, they know what to do. They can complete it in 1 to 3 minutes. And then when you say scoot, they move to the next device. So here's how you distribute the digital Scoot game. So once you create all your master slides, 1 question for each student in your class, you need to figure out a way for each student now to get it. The easiest way is Google Classroom, and you'll just create an assignment. Make sure though when you create the assignment that you're giving each student their own copy of the slideshow to share our digital Scoot games. Now, here's the big one, is how to play. So after you make all your digital Scoot, you've shared a copy with each student. They're all going to be getting the slideshow that has all of the questions. And as I explained before, digital Scoot, they just want 1 question in front of them at a time. So here's what I do. I assign every student a number. You can set their desks up or just kind of set them up around the room in a way that they can move relatively easily through the classroom. I give every device a number. I just print out a number, or you can write it on a Post-it, and that number stays with the device. Whoever's at device number 1, when you say scoot, will move to device number 2, 2 will move to 3, 3 to 4, 4 to 5, blah, 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 all the way till they get to the end. So first you assign them their number. Next, students are going to open up that slideshow you gave them, and they're going to delete all the other slides except for the slide that displays the same number as the device. So if you're at spot 1, you're going to delete all of the other slides and just leave the one that says number 1. That way they don't get distracted and someone doesn't accidentally go to the wrong slide. It just keeps it a lot neater. So everybody's slideshow will end up having only one slide. So after you set it up, you're going to tell students, okay, you have like 1 to 3 minutes at each station. When I say scoot, you're going to move to the next number. If you're at number 30, you go back to number 1. Or if you're number 24 and you're finished, you go back to number 1. And then you're going to say scoot every 1 to 3 minutes, and students are going to move around the room. You can usually accomplish this in a class period, depending on if it's your first time doing digital scoot. You might want to give them a little more time or break it up. Maybe only do 10 scoots the first time and then 10 the next day. But students will get really fast at it. So after the initial kind of like, what are we doing in setup part, you do another one, they're going to get it right away. You're going to give them their number, delete everything else, and they're going to be moving very quickly. And I do have some more kind of follow-up sort of posts, since this was only a half hour. So for example, if you want to combine all your single slides into one slideshow, or you want some extensions to do after you finish the scoot, some discussion questions, or you might have students in your classroom that need accommodations, like what can you do for those students, or what can you do for students that work too fast or too slow. I have blog posts that kind of go into detail about all this stuff, including how to have students create their own scoot. That's all on Erintegration.com. I have a whole section devoted to digital scoot. These are just some of the posts that I have. And then you can also purchase ready-made scoots right at Erintegration.com. So I want to thank everybody for tuning in. I know a half hour goes really fast, so I hope I kind of gave a good overview of digital scoot and how you can use it in your classroom. Definitely feel free to email me any questions, comments, feedback. Definitely find and follow me on social media. I'm pretty active on Instagram these days, so I'm always on there posting kind of what I'm working on or what I'm doing, and I love to see and hear from you and hear what you're doing in your classrooms too, especially since I'm out of the classroom this